2001?
I think so.
2001 Jeep TJ. It's a wreck. There's a lot wrong with it. I only got second gear and fourth gear. Can't downshift. Every time I do, the engine stalls. Wheels 90 degrees to what it should be. It drives all over the road. Got no lights. No heater controls. My foot's on fire. Instead of a radio, we got a CB. So that's a bonus. But, Mike decided he wants a Jeep for a winter car because the Corvette doesn't go through snow so good. So we're gonna have some fixing up.
So there's your CB radio and your controls.
And not much for heater.
Yeah, not much for heater. I don't know. Definitely needs some flooring. There's wires everywhere. At least the cover isn't wrapped. There's old fire extinguisher. Speakers are above me. We'll take another look at it when we get home.
Say, Mike.
Needs a lot of work.
Cool shifter though.
Yeah, but
That's the only reason your dad wanted you to buy it, so I can steal your shifter. So we're just going through the car, and yeah, all that was in the glove box, and well, there was some mousage happening in there, and I don't know, there's some stuff, some stuff. I don't know what's with this. Somebody thought that was a good idea to paint it. Man, that's god awful paint. Yeah, somebody's done some light off-roading, just a smidge. And there's why I only had 2 gears driving home. The top of the transmission, the shifter is not even attached, so they just strapped it in, and you grab whatever gear you get. Everything's moving, and we got to look into that. And yeah, obviously the hole in the floor, and well, this has been hodgepodge together. That side's an old road sign. So the good that we got with it, it's got a 2.5-inch lift. Tires don't match front and rear, but they're 285s. They're decent. We got a winch. We got a bumper that's going to need some fixing. So we tried to push something with it. It ain't made for that. So we got the aftermarket steel fenders on it. We got the armor, the Nerf bars, the rub rail there, and we got the back steel. I mean, these things are like, I don't know, 3/16 thick. Big heavy steel wraparound quarter panels that go all the way around her on both sides. So I mean, there's some nice additions. So it's something to work with. The frame is not rotted. That was the big one. And it run and drove pretty good, eh, Mike? I mean, it didn't shake. It didn't, I mean, other than the fact you can't shift it and it stalls at every stop sign, but we know that there's some issues there. Oh, yeah, all that, and all that, and then, you know, just a couple more for the heck. Why not? What do we got? 8 total codes. That's not too bad. I've seen more on newer cars. Hey, folks. Been a few days here working on the Jeep, and then we had Katie's Jeep. We went and got some tires and did some stuff, so I've been just Jeeping it up here. Anyways, we got this TJ all looked over, and the wiring. Oh, what a bloody shit show this has been. That's all the wiring that I've stripped out of it. That is hacked up, shorted out, melted, bypassed, plugs are broken. So we got a lot of rewiring to do here. That's the under dash harness, which is the worst, but there's stuff in the engine compartment that just... Let me just show you. I fixed a lot of it, so things are actually working. Instead of a push button start, now the key works, but you had these 2 wires here run from the starter to a switch, so he was basically hot wiring the darn thing, instead of actually addressing the issue, which was 3 of the fuses were blown, 2 of the relays were not working, and 2 were missing. I don't quite get why you wouldn't just check your fuses before you go rewiring things, but that's what they've done. So I ripped out the big off-road light package here, which he says never worked from the day he put it in. Yeah, seems to work just fine. The relay was junk. Easy fix. I just pulled one out of the scrap car. So this had to have been like under some water or something for this many fuses and relays to blow. And the guy clearly didn't know what he was doing, because he just started hodgepodging everything together. But I had to rip the dashboard out because I got tired of climbing under it to fix that. And I'll just show you the rest of my, some more of my woes. Yeah, there's my interior. So the headlight switch, or the multifunction switch, all this has been added, and I mean, there are, half the wires are not hooked up to anything. There's like 3 or 4 more breaks in there. This was just hanging loose. That's your main junction block. There were some wires over on the heater. 2 of the relays were missing. But like left me in gear. But I think we actually got her to start now with the key like it's supposed to. There was 3 wires on the ignition that were bypassed, and just it was incredible. I've never seen wiring quite as hacked up as this. And it idles now. So let me show you what he had done to the throttle body. Oof. Okay, so the first thing, this is something that I made up for testing purposes. So that's your manifold absolute pressure sensor. He had this plug jammed into there. Well, this plug doesn't even fit that. So I don't know why this was on here, because that's clearly not the right one, or the plug is not the right, something is not right. That plug doesn't go on here anyway. So we chopped the end off this old one, built some jumper wires, put them into the pins the way they're kind of supposed to go, and now that's working. The throttle position sensor was completely junk. It wasn't working. And the same can be said for the idle air control. The bolts were broken off back here, and he just had it wrapped with wire and siliconed in, but again, the plug wasn't even plugged in. He just had it taped. You can see here's our remnants of some tape. So this was an absolute mess. I don't know what the deal is with silicone, but I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to get it, it's idling. There's also a pretty major vacuum leak. This here hose. This hose here is supposed to go over to the vacuum reservoir, which is under the battery, and it was just sitting along the firewall broken. So, and that's definitely got vacuum when it's running. So continuing on with the wiring, I already ripped the hodgepodge trailer wiring that he had, but he had wires run along the wiring harness up there to a switch on the dash, which I'm assuming he thought would be to switch it and then make the brakes work. Well, there's your left turn signal not hooked up. There's your right turn signal not hooked up. Oh, by the way, yeah, this is, I don't know what this was supposed to be here, because I think, I don't know. But you can tell he just kind of had that run all the way to the dash for, I think, the reverse light. And then you got a couple that are hooked up, but then the problems don't stop there. You're missing a ground, but the problems don't stop there. You look at the tail lights themselves. This plate sits in here and it grounds out. The bolts are supposed to be grounded through the body. Well, that obviously isn't attached to anything, so there's no ground. This side is almost as bad. It only has one bolt left holding that one. So none of the lights were ever going to work back here because they're not grounded. So even if they were hooked up, it wouldn't have helped. And then he had these little things. When I pulled them on, I goes, "What the heck are these?" There's little battery LEDs that he had stuck glued in here, I guess, to be marker lights. But I don't know how was he expecting to turn them on and off. They were just left on like this. Had one in each light. I don't know, maybe when the batteries are in, they're pretty bright, but they ain't exactly suitable for marker lights. I don't even know what this plug's for. It was just sitting on the ground back here. But there are so many splices, it's absolutely insane. Let me just show you here on this mess. So there's the factory wiring, and then you can see there's cuts, splices, and I went through a label. All of this is spliced across, so clearly the plug went. That's where the plug should be, because it only plugs in right there. And then you got those splices, and then like 3 inches away, you got all of them spliced again. Like I said, there's 4 not hooked up, 3 or 4 not hooked up here. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for days. It's kind of boring stuff. Oh, I also got the shifter fixed, kinda. I drilled out the broken ass bolts that he had in there, and the guy drilled into the aluminum case, so that's awesome. So I ended up having to drill them a size bigger, put in studs, and then nuts. So it's good and solid now, but it'll probably leak because the rubber boot was all siliconed in on this thing. But I can now grab all my gears. Second gear is grinding like you wouldn't believe. Well, it's probably a bad synchro mesh unit. And we went shopping, and we bought us a whole interior, because the interior in this thing was just trashed. So we got roll bar pads, visors, seats, front seats, back seats, all the carpeting, which this had none of. New dashboard, radio, heater controls, door panels, all the little trim pieces. So yeah, we've been busy. We did an alignment because the wheels were pointing in different directions. But we got lots of cleaning up to do, and then we got to weld in some floors because, well, as you can see, that's the daylight. It's even worse behind the seats. Seats are junk. Obviously, look at that one. But all these are supposed to pivot forward to let you get in the back seat. Well, these are seized up. I sprayed them, and they will not move. But they're coming out anyway. Well, I got the taillights off finally. I ended up having to drill out all the bolts because there was nothing to grab onto in here. They were so rotted. And then the back was so rusty and muddy that they just turned in here. So I just center punched them, drilled them all out, and knocked them out. Got the light out, and well, there's the plug. And again, another broken wire because, hey, why not, right? And I'm kind of afraid to unwrap this and see what kind of a shit shows on there. And then we got our ground plate, which you can see the rust on it. So I'm hoping I can just clean these up, jam in some new bolts, get it ground again, maybe even run a wire, who knows, and maybe save these. I mean, obviously I got some soldering and shrink wrapping and figuring out whatever that is, but both of them are the same, all messed up, so let's see if we can save them. Alright, so I got the right side put back in. The bolts aren't tight yet, but that's basically what we're looking at. New bolts. I got the ground washer on here, and if needed, I'll run a ground wire right to the back side of that. On this side, I just get to pulling it apart, and this is why you take the tape off. 1 wire out of 3 is actually connected. These were just all sitting in there taped. It's no wonder the guy was having so much trouble with lights. I mean, look at this. I don't even have words for how bad this wiring is. Like, who does this? Whoever you are, don't ever touch wires. You're definitely not qualified. Anyway, we're gonna plug away and get more wiring stuff put in. I don't know if I want to put the interior in until I rip the seats out and do these floors, and then probably put it all in at once, because anything I put in before that's just going to get dirty and messed up, but it's a car, who cares? Anyway, we'll keep you updated.